Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we continue our director's spotlight with Wes Anderson under that spotlight, and we are talking The French Dispatch. It was released on October 22nd, 2021, written by Wes Anderson with a story by Roman Coppola, Hugo Guinness, and Jason Schwartzman. That Roman Coppola, Jason Schwartzman team up once again, and directed by Wes Anderson with cinematography once again by Robert Yeoman. I am Colton Robertson, and I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. And this is one I've been very, very excited for, The French Dispatch. And I fear I've hyped it up a lot. I've told you, I tried to balance it. You know, I love this movie a lot, but I've also told you that this is one that most people look at as his worst. So it's I've been trying to like balance that. How do you feel about it after one viewing?
I'd say the people that think it's his worst just I don't know. I feel like this is the most difficult movie to understand. I don't know. I feel like this is the most complex kind of story that he's told out of any of his movies. Every other one of his movies are pretty cut and dry. You watch it the first time, you might be on a little bit of a roller coaster, but you fully understand kind of everything that's happening. Yeah. This one, the thing is, I don't know what the meaning of the movie is quite yet. Like, I guess I'm fresh off. I literally finished the movie 20 minutes ago.
Right.
So I'm still thinking about it. I'm still like going through that process myself. And it's without a doubt, this is his most unique movie, I'd say. Like this,
it's the most Wes Anderson movie to ever Wes Anderson, you know?
This one it's all him, but it's so different from all of his other movies, even though it has aspects of all of them inside of it. It's like, but it's so different than all the rest of them. Because I mean, there's like comic book animation in there. There's like stop motion stuff in there sometimes, like for a little itty bitty bit. There's like, and then just obviously the live action part. But then just the use of color, like black and white, and then like all of a sudden you just hear, oh, someone's at my door. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're all good. You're all good.
But I don't know. And then you just see it flash into color for just like for like a couple frames at some times, and it has everything that Wes did in previous movies, but all in this one crazy mashup. So no, I'm very high on, like, I love how this was made. I love how, like, everything about it. And I just want to go back and watch it again because now I know what the movie is and I feel like I can understand it more. Right.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I said, this is one of my favorites, in this whole lineup. It's a 4-viewer this year. It ties it with Fantastic and Moonrise and, one other, Darjeeling. Is Darjeeling a 4-viewer? What's the other one? No, it's just those three. Moonrise, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and French Dispatch. With Darjeeling and Isle of Dogs at 3. I loved this movie, man, and I have a background interest in journalism. You know, I was back in high school. I was the editor of our school newspaper, and I wrote with the writing staff and stuff. I went to school for journalism for a little bit. So this movie brought back all sorts of feelings. The reason I started writing again on the Patreon is because I watched this movie. You know, like there's a whole bunch of stuff where I'm like, it just reminded me how much that medium is how valuable that medium is and how much you can get across. There are things that they say in this movie that work as narration that you just can't say in conversation, you know. Whenever I write a review, I try to write things in a different way than I speak, you know, and it would work if I was narrating something, but it's not the same as just like in a conversation one-on-one here. And that's why it's like, it's brilliant at the writing styles of 𝗁𝙗𝗍𝗃 and 𝗔𝙍𝙬𝗀𝗃𝗃 and Roebuck Wright and stuff, like all the characters and their different, just over the top prose filled writing styles. It's outstanding. I absolutely adored it. But
so I guess I wanna is this mainly just, this was one kind of this was Bill Burr, what was his like
Bill Murray?
Arthur
Howard's?
Yeah,
Howard.
It was like his, like the French Dispatch, his little company, and like this was just like 3 different stories that were told, and like
this was an issue of the magazine.
Okay, that's what I thought. So this is just like as if we were reading it, but in
it's the
form.
last issue of the magazine.
Oh, okay.
The one they published when Howard's died, because at the beginning they go over the whole when he died, he stated in his will that the presses would cease, the publication would stop, the writers would be released from their contracts with ample bonuses, everyone who still had subscriptions left would be reimbursed, etc., etc. The eulogy they're writing, the obituary that they're writing at the end, is the narration at the beginning of the movie. Owen Wilson says it started as a holiday, and everyone was like, "Did it really?" And he goes, "Kinda," and that's one of the first lines in the movie, said by the narrator 𝗿𝙍𝙬𝗃 Houston, by the way. She goes, "It started as a holiday" at the beginning of the movie. So like it's a revised version of the obituary they write at the end. So they've gone through and edited it, and it's what ended up being published.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really satisfying rewatch for that reason. There's all sorts of stuff that you can pick apart. And what it really, really got me for was the environment that's created on a writing staff, a group of people who work together closely, and the relationship you can have to an editor, if they're a good editor. It's why Bill Murray's character is so very close to being my favorite character of this movie, because he's the beating heart of the French Dispatch. At the beginning, whenever they're going like he's talking about whores and vermin and all this bullshit, and he's like, "Those are his people," and they all go, "Oh yeah," the little mumbling over each other. What about Kremens? We asked her for 2,000 words. She came in at 14,000. Some of her best work. Like he's just like, he's fiercely protective of his writers. They're like, "Well, who are we going to kill? Because we can't publish everybody. That can't happen." And he says, "We're not killing anybody. Tell the publisher to order more paper. Sorry." Like that.
Yeah. Okay. I do really like that. Like I've never thought about what an editor does. I've only thought about the people who write stories, and just that's it. I've never actually thought of what an editor does. Like in my mind, it was just like, "Yep, good enough. All right." Like they just make kind of the final call sort of thing, right. But this seems to me like, this is an editor that I would like to work for if I was a writer.
Yes. A nice contrast. The most recent comic book movie we discussed on this podcast was Spider-Man 2. The newspaper editor that you find in that is J. Jonah Jameson. A man who you definitely don't want to work for, because his is about saving money, trying his best to be inflammatory. It's real yellow journalism, And then Arthur Howard's here is like, I care that the writers write what they want to write. The writers need to write what they want to write, and it needs to be compelling. And his motto, make it sound like you wrote it that way on purpose, is fundamental to writing. You gotta capture a tone, you gotta capture an idea. Like, you can't write something and then someone goes, "Ooh, I'm not sure how they meant that." If you've done that, you don't have a strong enough voice in your writing, So if you write it one way, make sure you do your best to make sure you wrote it that way on purpose.
That might be the line of the movie.
It's damn strong.
He does say it a couple times, and other people refer to it as like, if he gives one piece of advice, he will say, try and make it sound like you wrote it that way on purpose. And then at the end with Ro, as he's sitting in his cell, after he gives him his first assignment, and then he's thank you, it was a very, I don't know, that line was, you're right, he is very close to being the character in the movie for that reason, just because he's the one kind of bringing everyone together, and he's the one that is like,
you were questioning off Mike the glue, and it is him. Like that, this movie is about him supporting his writers.
It makes sense.
At the end of every section of the movie, it shows the process he went through with the writers immediately after.
Yeah,
like at the beginning with Owen Wilson. He talks to him for a second. He's like, "You sure you don't want to include a flower shop or anything like that?" And he's like, "Nope, this is what I want." And he's like, "All right,
yeah,
you can cut out the second half of the second paragraph. You go on to repeat it later." And the writer's like, "You know what? Okay." Because it's a give and take. That's what editing and writing is. If you have an editor, you're supposed to listen to them full stop. But you do make the battles you want to make. You take the stands, you're like, this is, and Roebuck Wright does a great job of that at the end of the movie. Whenever he's like, why'd you write this? What's the point? And he's like, well, there's one thing that I left out.
God,
he shows him,
he's like,
well,
this is Jeffrey Wright.
This is why it was supposed to be. Yeah, Jeffrey Wright. Yeah. He's fantastic. I did want to ask, since this is such a segmented movie, I did want to talk about the sort of glue that held it all together first, which is the editor of the French Dispatch, the Picnic, the branch of the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted to take it story by story, kind of do some favorites from each, and then do the favorites overall, starting with, Owen Wilson's. I think it's a good tone setter for the movie.
Yeah.
There's no like do there only Wilson's performance and in that scene is Owen Wilson. But it's a good all-encompassing capturing of what we're about to get into. This a day in the life on Wii, where he kind of takes us through the seedy underground of the city. He even shows us the cafe that the kids hang out at the beginning of the movie. Zeffirelli and his crew, there's music playing around that that like swell that plays whenever they show that, and it just kind of captures the vibe you're about to get into, and I think it was a really good tone setter for the movie at large, and I really liked it. How about was that the first time you were like, okay, what the fuck am I about to watch?
Yeah, I was a little confused at first. I guess even at the end, I was a little confused, not in a bad way. I guess I didn't really get why, I guess, and that's a whole nother, we'll get to there when we get to his part. But you're right. I think it was a perfect way to get you into the movie and to understand what is about to happen. You'll hear a story from a writer, and that you'll see it through their eyes, through, however they saw it. And then you hop back in with the editor and see what he thinks about it. And then, you see the okay. And I don't know, I didn't really pick that up at first. And I didn't think that's, oh, okay. So obviously this is what the next, 3 stories are going to be about. I had no idea of knowing.
Right.
But now looking back, it was a perfect, nice and easy,
it's easy
appetizer. Yeah, it was like an appetizer.
I'm Owen Wilson, and here's what you're about to watch. Kind of vibe, and the whole narration at the beginning where they show the guy running through the French Dispatch building and stuff, and he's carrying the drinks and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're talking about the arts and culture and all the stuff they discuss in the magazine. I thought that was it's a great choice. It's a real breakdown of it reminded me a lot of the Grand Budapest Hotel, in the way that when you're introduced to the hotel, they start breaking down the responsibilities of a lobby boy. It's like strangely informational at first, and then it starts getting into the other stuff. And I really appreciated that out of this movie, but the movie really starts rolling whenever we get to 𝗁𝘂𝑠 Rosenthaler,
Yes.
a story written by 𝗁𝙍𝙀𝙀𝗿𝘀, played by Tilda Swinton.
Yeah,
This one was fun.
I don't know
Great
which
cast.
story is my favorite, man. I don't know. Like, I really, really liked Moses' story. I thought it was, I don't know, it was the first kind of real story of the movie, I guess. And then I'm thinking this is what the rest of the movie's going to be while I'm here, you know? So I'm like, okay, this is where the movie kind of begins, really. And I'm watching, and I don't know, the whole idea of modern art and how you don't understand. I mean, I like whenever he unveils it for the first, Adrian Brody unveils it for the first time in front of like his uncle uncles, and they're like, I don't get it. And he's like, yeah, you're too old. You obviously don't get it. He's like, or whatever, like sort of thing. He's like, do you see the girl? No, trust me, she's there. And whenever like he unveiled the big, in the gymnasium, the huge project, I don't know if it's my mind playing tricks on me, but I swear I could see the figure of a girl in those paintings. Like, I don't know. They're there. Like, I don't, and even this is just art made for the movie, and it's whatever. But like, that's the thing about art just in general, is that Adrian Brody comes up in his cell and he's like, obviously it's for sale. That's why you make it, to sell it, and it's like, well, you couldn't be any more wrong.
Yeah, fundamental. Like, it's a capitalist's perspective on art, an art dealer's perspective on art.
So that part of the story was really, really enticing to me. Just the back and forth between all the money and all the bribery and all, just to get the art out of the artist, and the deadline, and pushing him to say, the invitation is set. It's here in 2 weeks. This is not a foreign thing at all. This happens all the time in every art industry. I just know it the most from like
industries, period.
Yeah, like I know it the most just from video games, just because that's just what I play the most. But so many video games are being released today that just aren't finished just because the release date is set and the marketing is done around that release date, and all of the money points that it needs to be out. But then the game comes out and everyone's pissed off for whatever reason that, this doesn't feel finished at all. I hate the developers. I hate the artists. And it's like, you're hating the wrong people. Like the developers and the artists, they're doing all they can. It's just they're being very, very rushed.
Yeah.
And like, I thought, I don't know, it was a very, very elegant way of just showcasing that in Moses' story. But I think the actual part of the story that I like way more is just like him and Simone's kind of back and forth. Because if I had to pick a scene out of just that, it would be the electric chair scene.
It's a brilliant scene.
Whenever he's like, all right, I'm done. Like I'm being overworked. Like this isn't what I don't know. I'm being tortured. I'm a tortured artist. And she gives him a little taste, like, is that really what you want? Is that really what you want? And he's like, all right, let's get back to work. It was very quick, I guess, but it was.
No, it's a good one.
It kind of showed their relationship, like very, I don't know,
plainly.
very well, very plainly right there. She wasn't in it, I don't love you. I'm not going to marry you.
That one's my favorite scene from that little bit. Is the scene where they're laying down head to head, side by side, and the camera keeps flipping from back and forth. And it's kind of interesting. Whoever feels like they have the power in the moment is the one who's right side up. So Benicio del Toro, as he's talking, when he's about to build up to the I love you, he's like, there's something I've been wanting to tell you, and I just feel this way, and it feels right. And and as soon as he's about to say I love you, it flips to her being the one that's right side up, and she goes, I don't love you. And she explains everything, why it won't work, and what she's feeling and how that's going. And he's like, and then it flips back to her. And it's like, it's just a really elegant way of showing who's driving the conversation, really. Instead of what would have been much easier is just leaving it in one spot, or turning it side by side. So they're both, one on top of the other instead of, you know, and it's just a brilliant choice. But the way that scene concludes too, because something that is a little confusing is like the timelines of this movie. Sometimes you don't realize when you're in a flashback and when you're further back in the timeline, because that part takes place before the first thing we see with her like posing and everything.
Yeah,
because that's when he decides he's going to paint again.
And he sees the ceiling, and then it flashes in color.
He finally sees it in color again.
Oh my god!
And that's what's interesting too. The use of black and white versus color throughout the movie is like for Moses Rosenthaler, when he's seeing in color, we see it in color. Like when life is vivid again, we see it that way.
It's like inspiration. Like the spark is back. Almost, you know, if color
when Simone turns around at the end and starts walking towards Adrian Brody and Benicio del Toro, it's all in color. You see the beauty of the wall and everything, and it's just like it's brilliant, dude. I love that, and that's the thing is like I was fairly certain I knew what my favorite story was after my first watch, and then I was fairly certain what it was after my second watch. Then I was fairly certain of what it was after my third watch, and each time it was the other one. Each time it was like, okay, Roebuck writes. Okay, wait, no, now it's revisions to a manifesto. Okay, now it's Moses Rosenthaler.
How do I choose between like the revolutionary spirit of two young kids? Like, and I'm like, oh my god, that was so amazing. And then you have like this tortured artist that's in an insane asylum that's being forced to make art, and like he finally unveils something that's a genius, and he's one of the most world famous artists.
It's built up the wall.
Yeah, and it's every story was so like you can make a whole movie per story almost.
Well, and that's why the Owen Wilson part is so crucial to this movie. This is what he finds beautiful about Ennui. You know, the deep, the dark, seedy. You know, what sounds will punctuate the evening? Pop! You hear a gunshot, and he gets ran off the road on his bike and stuff. And he's like, you don't want to include a flower shop? He's like, I hate flowers, man. You know, it's finding beauty in the most unexpected places. In this one, we have Moses Rosenthaler, a brilliant once in a generation artist who's in prison for double first degree homicide. In the second story, you know, you have these two kids who are revolutionists who are on opposite sides of the same side, and them kind of finding the beauty in each other. And then the third, you have a brilliant cook who is just working for the police. And it's just like all these different things where it's like you just wouldn't expect to find it here. And I think that's it's just a great way to tell a story. And that's kind of where I find the binding is like beauty in places you wouldn't expect it to be.
Yeah.
Or hope in places you wouldn't expect it to be. I don't know. There's a few layers there that I'm excited to pick through.
Every time I've watched his movies, I've always really loved how he tells it through a medium sometimes, you know, and like it's either a book or something, you know, something is there. But this one, it's like pretty clear. Like this one, it's like, I mean, it's kind of the whole movie.
It is the issue of the magazine, yeah.
Yeah, and that was just real. Like, I mean, he has those transition shots in his other movies that are like, all right, this is the next part. We're moving on. It's I think
Moonrise Kingdom. Whenever she's reading the book and she goes part 2, and then it cuts.
Yeah, but these were like, all right, this is page 5 through 16, and you're like, and this is this writer, and like, it was way cooler this way, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, this was. I feel like people take movies, if it's in a movie and it's like renowned, then it's real. But if you see it in a magazine, or you see it in a comic book, or you see it in a video game, it doesn't matter as much to people because it's not a movie. It's not, you know, a grand production.
Right.
But then I don't know, I look at comic books and like there's some real, like, some of the best stories come from comic books.
Yeah, some incredible stories can be told in other medium.
And it like comic books completely like inspired every comic book movie that's out today, and those stories come from somewhere. You know, like those stories were written in comic books first. So it's like it got me to like appreciate every form of art, no matter how small, and small I put in air quotes because I don't really view it that way anymore. Like, it's just because it's a movie doesn't make it any more credible than anything else. There's no real reason, there's no real credibility in art, you know. It's just a matter of perspective. It's right. Different through everyone's eyes. Like, you look like, especially like Owen Wilson. I don't know. Like, you see all that stuff and he's focusing on everything bad, you know, and like you'd expect an editor to be like, all right, dude, well, we don't want the people to start this issue with the most depressing view of a city ever, but he's just like, well, that's how he wrote it. You know, that I have him on my team. That's how he sees it. Yeah. Like, I don't know. He can't change it. And
well, and that's what's also awesome is that, there's this something interesting is like the timing of this book I was just mentioning, like the bouncing around and stuff. That opening scene where he is defending his writers, it implies that all the scenes that we saw after their stories happened before that. Whenever Owen Wilson's like, no, I hate flower shops. Da, 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 da. He's already justified it to him so that he can justify it to his team. You know, he's like they're like, he's talking about all these gigolos and prostitutes and vermin and stuff. He's like, those are his people, you know, that, like, cause that's what he told him. And notably, the only person who doesn't get any notes is, 𝗷𝙍𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃, is, Frances McDormand. And, you know, she was supposed to come in at
that's
2,000
right.
words.
He just walked in and picked it up. And that was it. Oh yeah, I didn't even really think about that. That it was just perfect already. I get no
well, and like the way they're talking, they're like, there's 9 hanging participles. There's all sorts of grammatical errors. Da, 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 and he goes, some of those are on purpose. Like, like I love like that sort of conversation between a writer and an editor requires an extreme faith from the editor on the writer's part. Like
okay, now that makes that beginning scene, like it's all coming back now. Like that it did happen after they were all written. Like and like okay.
And the only one that doesn't is Roebuck writes, because he's like, his door was still shut, but I could hear the keys clacking in there, and he goes, don't interrupt him, let him finish. You know, he's like so he goes in there after and he's looking for so it's just it's an interestingly formatted movie, just to
now it's making way more sense now. Like now this one is going to benefit the most from a second watch, I will say, like without a doubt for me. It's already, I mean, if I had to give like a gut of where I put this one, like we just came fresh off Isle of Dogs, which I put pretty high. But I mean this one, I mean, it's above that. I mean, already it's above Isle of Dogs. Like this is a different type of ball game here. This one, I don't know. I feel like this one actually has a way bigger purpose, way bigger meaning, a lot more Wes behind it, I guess, if that makes sense.
Well, and there's also this really interesting real world context that they kind of dig into in the second story, which we'll get to before long, about journalistic integrity. This came out in 2021, which is we're at a height of people distrusting media and stuff, and it's crucially important that our journalists are honest and don't have biases and don't present facts in a way that is inflammatory, and they just go ahead and report facts. But then what do you do when nobody believes the facts? Then that's when you need a voice. That's when you do need a Zeffirelli or or someone outside of the media to go ahead and dig into those issues and inspire people. And it's just like there's always something about his movies that are oddly timely. You know, like they're like, oh, this was a good time. Like Grand Budapest, I think, came at a relatively good time, coming out in 2014. Whenever a certain someone was about to make his bid for president and stuff. And there's just always a certain relevance, I feel like. 2018 Isle of Dogs, basically dictator-ish regime limiting the amount of love you can have in your life.
Yeah, he does seem to have a very keen sense of what's going on in the real world.
And he always makes it fantastical enough where you don't really have to even think about that if you don't want to.
But it's there.
Oh, it absolutely is. And there's one, especially Roebuck Wright's whole thing is probably the most timely. And it's one that I didn't even really become keen to the meaning of until my most recent couple watches. Where he's being persecuted as a black gay man. That's what he got.
That I was trying to. I found like it was very brief. The something of a homosexual man. And I'm like, okay,
these are the hardships of the homosexual.
Yeah, and I was trying to piece it together while everything else was going on, and I'm like, is that what's actually happening right now? And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's a really, really good fucking movie, man, with all sorts of different stories to tell, and all of it ultimately comes back around to the importance of art, the importance of, and it opens itself up to the meaning of what art is, and cooking is an art, and that's what he chooses to write about. The revolutionary spirit is inherently artful. It's creative. It's deciding something is wrong and we need to do something else about it. That the very basis of writing a manifesto is one of the most creative things you can do, because you have to come up with things that no one's thought of to fix things that exists. Because, people talk about, we need to realign everything in this country from the ground up. Someone's got to come up with how to do that. Someone's got to do something that no one's thought of before, because a lot of stuff doesn't fucking work, and it's been known to not work.
We all kind of know we're all in a fucked up situation. We all know that. We know something needs to happen to fix a lot of things. But I don't know how to go about that,
It takes some of the most intelligent and creative minds there are to do stuff like that, which is why there's this, I love the second story for all the layers it has there, the touching narcissism of the young, because there's this again, another crazy timely story, a battle between the older people in the society versus the younger people of the society, where the older people are like, man, you can try your best to change shit, but you're just not going to change shit. The infighting between the revolutionary cause, which is like, you like this thing, but you should really be even further into that belief, or you shouldn't be so extreme. And there's all sorts of stuff that just feels very, very relevant. And I really appreciate it. And that's the thing, is that the one that feels the least relevant to modern society probably is the Moses Rosenthal scene, or Moses Rosenthaler story. But even then, you can make it about the way that capitalists use prison labor to make money off of them. They the most famous artist of our time, Moses Rosenthaler, according to them, most famous artist of his time. He passed away, and he had books written about him, and he sold a bunch of art, but who made all the money off of that art and stuff? There's just a different ball game. And I like that, it's about sucking the life out of him while forcing him to do the thing that he once loved doing. And while his inspiration is Simone, there even comes a point, Simone's character is really interesting because she wants to support Moses, I think, but throughout all of it, the resolution to her story is oddly selfish. She does maintain correspondence with Moses Rosenthaler until his death, according to Berenson. But she makes it out of that job and is compensated for being his model and muse. And she goes on, she is reunited with her kid, and and she has a great story. She has a great ending. But whenever Adrian Brody's like, it's gonna have to be put on in 2 weeks. He's like, she tells me it's ready. you know, and
Yeah.
she's definitely supporting him. You know,
Yeah,
she's
I
trying to
don't
be
think
like,
that
it's better than you think, but it's also a little bit of like you know, we do this and I'm out of here. It was her last day, you know?
Oh, I didn't really see. Okay, I didn't really see it like that. I guess because I felt like she was trying, like, supporting him in the way that she should, and not be like, all right, here's a deadline, you do your job, and that's it. That's all I care about, like Adrian Brody's saying. But she's the one who's actually, like, keeping him inspired, keeping him motivated, actually wanting to do the work, sort of thing. And then, because was it known that she was going to be compensated for this? They
seemed to imply that to me. And they don't outwardly say like she'd agreed to do this and then get out. No, but that was stated at the end of that article to be her last day. And
like it was known that was her last day.
Yeah. That was the last day she worked there. And whether that's a coincidence or they compensated her and she dipped, I don't know. It happened to also be his last day or close to it for his valor in rescuing several people.
In the riot or whatever, like that's probably close to my actual favorite scene was just the unveiling, and then I don't know what to think. I don't like it. It was beautiful at first, but then he realizes it's on the wall, and it can't be moved. And then he's like, "Oh, I hate it now. Oh, I can't do anything with this. What am I going to do?
How much this has cost us?"
Yeah, and
that's what's brilliant about that choice. The final stand that Moses takes, and that's what ultimately makes her a supportive muse and model, and not an opportunist who's taking advantage of him. Is that she doesn't tell them that it's painted into the wall. She doesn't tell them that they will not be able to move it. It's just she does admire the work for what it is, and it's a really interesting real interesting dichotomy, man. But yeah, Moses and who would you say had your favorite performance and your favorite character from that little bit there?
I'd say Moses was the character for me. Just seeing like stuff through his eyes, and then like whenever he saw it in color, and like I don't know, he was just the focal point of that story. So that's just who I was mainly focused on. Yeah, I didn't even think about all this Simone stuff in the back. Like I didn't even think about all that on this watch. But
I've had plenty of time to reflect on it. This is my fourth viewing of it.
I think he would get the performance as well, like because the scene, your favorite scene, whenever he's like, well, what do you mean? Like he's playing in this big "I love you," and he's expecting it to go his way,
well.
And then it does, and he's like, well, that was only part of it. There's more to say. And he has to I don't know, act kind of a little bit insane. He has little growls, which is
his little.
Yeah. I don't know. I everything about him. That's the one story that I that's the thing. I don't know how to pick my favorite story out of these three. It's like I don't know if I have one that's my favorite. I
was going to ask what your favorite was, but I don't think I would be able to choose, man. It's they're all incredibly well done, and while they all have a certain uniqueness and are vastly different from each other, they have this spirit that kind of persists through it all. And like I said, that beauty in unexpected places sort of thing, or connection in unexpected places, it's really fascinating. But for me, my favorite performance would definitely be Benicio del Toro as Moses Rosenthal. And my favorite character would be Simone. I think that I loved her presence
more. Yeah, I'm gonna focus more on her on the second watch to see like what's going on there. Because the way I picked it up was that she was just kind of with him, and I thought that she just kind of got lucky, like it was just kind of like, well, I motivated him. I was the model, so obviously they compensated me, and then I had enough money where I didn't need to do this anymore. Is just
and I'm pretty purely speculatory here. Like I don't think they do a lot in the story to insinuate that. It's just that the persuasiveness she uses. She knows the hold she has on Moses. She watches over him whenever he's selling his art to Adrian Brody. He's like, "Why do you keep looking at her?" And he's like, "Well, that's Simone." And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And why is she watching that interaction? Is it because they're two prisons in a cell together? Someone needs to watch. It might as well be her, but there's a certain element of her being like, I want to make sure this goes a certain way or something. Like, I don't know. It's
maybe she's like the manager, sort of like that's her. If this was an artist that was not in prison whatsoever,
muse, model, and manager.
Yeah. Okay. I'll definitely pay attention to her a little more. Watch that.
It's just her presence, it's a really fascinating and strong presence that she has on screen, to be opposite a psycho, a person literally locked up for psychopathic murder. Whenever he approaches her when she's naked and he like paints on her and then he like rubs it in and then she like smacks the painting brushes out of her hand and like out of his hand and hisses at him. It's like, dude, immediately I'm kind of taken with that character. I'm like, that's just kind of badass, and so I liked me some Simone. She would probably be my favorite character from that. And that was another scene that had there were a few great actors from that scene. You had the Fonz, what's his real name? Henry Winkler, Uncle Joe, and Bob Balaban as Uncle Nick.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, even Adrian Brody did pretty well,
Adrian Brody did real good, man.
He did, yeah. But Benicio del Toro, the thing I know, like, is Star Wars and The Collector. It's like as I know him, Yeah. But then this is, I don't know, like my first real kind of role that I've seen him in. That's not.
Well, and he's always done and that's what's really cool about Benicio del Toro. I like as a talent, he's got a very original streak. When it comes to the MCU, I don't think there is quite a character like the Collector. When it comes to Star Wars, he made DJ his own. The whole vibe he was doing was like, he's a very talented man, and I think he does a really, really good job here. So I would also go with him for the performance in this specific story. I don't know about overall, and we'll see because I want to reflect on it fully. But yeah, man, I love that. I love that scene and I love that story, and I think that it has just a great idea behind it about what art means to everybody from the bottom to the top, and I think it's a wonderful idea.
And then the one shot that I was debating was maybe from here, and it was just when they actually got the installation out of there, got it on a plane, took it to the Midwest, dropped it down in Kansas, and then you see the exhibit and it's kind of pulling back from it, and then you realize it's just right in the middle of a cornfield, like
that was gorgeous.
And I mean, it was. I don't think it tops the shot we'll get to later. But it was just oh wow, that's where it is now. Like it's in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, and not where he created the thing. Like, can you imagine the Sistine Chapel if someone was like, "Oh, I love
the feeling of this place.
Let's put it on a plane, take it to Missouri." You'd be like, "What?" You like?
Yeah. Wait. What do you want?
No, like that's obviously just not an option. But
no, but that's the thing, Like it was taking this beautiful thing that is almost inaccessible to anyone who doesn't get locked up and moving it out to where it is accessible. And there is something interesting there where it's like, should they have left it where it was to kind of like prisoners probably deserve art too, like it's not like a,
I just didn't think it was fair to bring it to Kansas, like I mean, like maybe if it's not in the asylum, but just like outside, like I don't know, like literally outside the gates where just anyone can see it, sort of thing. I don't know, like something like that. Just the fact that they put it on a plane and brought it over.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. But that's the game with the art dealership, man, and that's
I guess
questionable.
I guess it'll be seen by more people. Yes,
probably.
But
And
that is
the
an
people who are
interesting.
visiting ennui.
Yeah, that is an interesting debate. Like kind of back and forth. Is like, should you just leave it right where it was and not touch it whatsoever, or put it in a place where a lot of people can actually see it and experience it? And it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful little story, man. And there's actually some interesting, more time stuff there where she talks about how her former employer sent her out there to go analyze this. She was working for the art dealer who bought it and stuff. This happened like 25, 30 years before the events of the movie, because when you see her office, there's a stack of books on the left side. One's called The Life and Death of Moses Rosenthaler, and all of them are about Moses Rosenthal. There's a poster of Simone naked in cell block J or whatever. And
she was given like a lecture or something over, like kind of like a TED talk, or I don't know. Was she just like a professor, or like was that just how she?
I don't know what
her storytelling.
Maybe it was like a maybe some sort of art expo or a journalism convention.
Do you think she was actually doing that, or do you think that was like her way of storytelling and telling people?
Right.
Sort of thing.
No, I like to think that she's actually giving a presentation, because like it seemed that she was very fascinated and taken by Moses Rosenthal, as she had a stack of books about him and stuff. So maybe she's kind of like the leading mind on Moses Rosenthal. So she was giving a lecture on Moses Rosenthal.
That's true, because she's the only one who wasn't actually there with the person of the story during the time, because every other or both other writers, like Roebuck was with the ship, actually like there and during those events. Frances
McDormand was in the ship.
There. Yeah, they were full on there. So they were like first-hand accounts, but then I guess hers would be the only
kind of historical accounting. Yeah, that's interesting.
So it makes more sense that it's like a lecture or like a just here's how it went sort of thing. But okay, yeah. But I think I'm trying to put in all of our favorites here for every single one of them, each part.
Favorite shot wise, though, I don't think I gave you a favorite shot for this one.
Yeah, that one could be hard for each part, because I know that's the only shot I remember was the sunflower or like the cornfield, whatever it was. Yeah,
that's a good looking shot, man. Though there's a few though, like his process when he is painting and he's trying all these different mediums and stuff, and it does flash into color for a while, and it shows him like painting yellow across the like screen, and then him standing in the middle.
Ooh.
That's gorgeous.
His natural colors, like he used natural ingredients and him showing all the different things. That was really cool. Yeah, okay, you're right. There's a lot of shots to actually choose from. And now that I'm thinking about it, even your scene, just the overhead of
that
them
would probably be my favorite shot.
Yeah, and then him looking into the ceiling and like seeing that. Like, okay, there's actually a lot more there. But yeah, okay, trying to think if we missed anything from this first story. I love whenever the fight breaks out, there's just like two women kissing. Like it's all chaos. Like it's like a slow pan. Ooh, that might be my shot. Everyone's frozen in space. Yeah, everyone's frozen, and they even have like, how they use like cotton balls or like whatever for smoke and like stop motion. They use that in live action though. But like, I don't know, like everyone was frozen, but they kind of used some stop motion techniques
with humans. Yeah,
and okay, that might be my favorite shot of that story.
That's actually a good shot. That'd be a good choice. This gentleman here says he's their spokesperson, and he like locks the door, and they all knock through the. I like the shot of Moses like at an upward angle where he does stick his fists out, and Berenson says something about how he was knighted in the order of the lion or the caged lion or something like that. Yeah. It's like, okay, this dude's a badass.
Yeah, I mean that's how he got out. For his valor in this fight, they were like, yeah, release him, right? I mean, because I guess that was all kind of quick. That the fight happened. He did something so well and defended everybody
heroic,
that they just released him.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happened after he got out? I guess I'm kind of forgetting. Like, did they even focus on it, or was he got out just for that and that was it? They moved on.
Well, they just kind of moved on, you know. I think they kind of implied that's when Berenson might have begun her encounters with Moses Rosenthaler, because at the he's like, "Why'd you have to go to the seaside inn to write this story?" He's like,
okay.
She's like, "I don't have to articulate to you the kind of relationship me and Moses had. We were lovers. This was 20 years ago, you know. Like, I wanted to remember."
Okay, I see now.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't think there's anything else in there that I'm forgetting that I wanted to talk about.
Tony Revolori back as a young Moses.
That was cool. Yeah, the little transfer of the little tag or necklace, dog tag.
Oh, another one of my favorite shots is the mental illness still, where he's like he's doing a self-portrait and he can see himself sitting there and his eyes are all whited out. Like, that was gnarly. That was a dope ass scene.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I loved that shit, dude. It was a really compelling little part of the movie. But yeah, all right. Then I think we can move on to revisions to a manifesto, where we have Timothée Chalamet as Zeffirelli alongside Linda Cowdery as Juliet and Frances McDormand as Lucinda Kremens.
How is that? Yeah, well, I'd say Frances McDormand has taken my performance for this section.
She's performance and character for me. I have no doubt about that.
Character would be the only one that I would kind of, I guess, go back and forth on. And it would either, I mean,
my character might actually be Juliet.
I really like. She was the one who always was like making sure they were in line. I don't know, like whenever they were talking about the guy who's going off to fight for the military, and like, yeah, it's required and whatever. Like, it's the same.
For once, she's right.
It's the same. I don't know. She kept like saying that over and over, and she was the sound mind kind of through it all.
Oh,
and
she's the true revolutionary at heart. You know, like Zeffirelli is swayed to the revolutionary cause because of their friend's stories from when he got back. You know, her being like, he should burn the patch and abandon his post, and they're like, you know, like that's they don't necessarily support the war, but they don't support him going to jail for a cause, you know. And it's not until he gets back and does it that Zeffirelli, like, you know what? Okay, I'm in. Meanwhile, she had these ideals all along, which is an interesting little dichotomy between the two of them, where you know, there's it's just these varying degrees of ideology. You know, she's not necessarily an extremist because she's not acting on things in a more violent way necessarily than Zeffirelli, but
she's just very passionate about her beliefs.
She disagrees with his ideals and that they don't go far enough, that they're like, you know, you're too soft on this. You need to do something else here. It's poetic in a bad way. I really enjoy the dichotomy between them, but the highlight overall is Frances McDormand. Man, she's
that's hard to beat. I mean, if you're in the same scenes as Frances McDormand, what are you really going to do? You know, I mean, it's tough. I mean, she definitely is getting performance. That's without a doubt. I don't think that's up for debate for me at all. But then she
has a chance at performance for the whole movie. She's damn good.
Yeah. But I really liked Juliet. I don't know. I really like her outfit was really cool. You know, she had the goggles, the helmet, like Amelia Earhart kind of
vibe
look to her. And just, I don't know, like, so what's the idea here? I guess this part was the part that confused me a little bit, like the chess match that was being played versus like the revolution. So it was like, so they were deciding, like, I guess, I don't know. I was a little like confused as to like, is that I don't know. Like, it was set up between like the mayor or like whoever was running the government and them, and they were playing. And then whenever they lost on time, that's whenever they were like, okay, tear gas and whatever them, you know, and like it's over now. So like if they would have won the chess match, if he would have won, like what would have happened? You know, like I guess like that's the part that kind of confused me a little bit, was whatever was going on with this chess match.
I think it's an example of some of the stuff that Kremens was writing about, this like touching narcissism and naivete of the young, where if they lose this chess match, the soldiers are sent in to tear gas and rubber bullets and all that.
Mm-hmm.
If they win this chess match, the soldiers are sent in with tear gas and rubber bullets. And,
yeah,
you know, they're the way that 𝗁𝙗𝗲𝗄 wants to win, it's not possible to win that way. He's not fighting a violent revolution.
I see. Okay.
He's fighting a revolution of ideals, and it can start as a revolution of ideals, but it can't follow through as a revolution of ideals. Something has to, and that's what Juliet's perspective provides. You know, that's why whenever the scene progresses and he's like, it's our turn, and Juliet's still arguing with him, it's because she knows this chess match doesn't fucking matter. She's like, it doesn't matter. We can do this all fucking day. If you win, they'll invade. If you lose, they'll invade. There is no rhyme or reason to what's going on here.
I'll put her as my character for that reason then, because that
Juliet's
didn't really
hard.
click, and she was already kind of up there, and now that's like, okay, I didn't, because I saw it as like an actual thing between the city and the kids, you know, and like they were actually participating in this thing, but like the whole time I'm like, what is this gonna do? Like that's what I was like.
Never happen.
And it is fantastical. This is true, but like the very real world elements that are, you know, being pulled in for 100%. Most of the other parts. So I was like, that was I didn't know if it was just for funny, you know, just for comedic, you know, value. Is this even labeled as a comedy? Because there are some, it is. I was gonna say there are like some funny parts in here, but this one's a lot more serious in tone.
I would say too. Yeah, it's just a really interesting story, this one, because there's this, this one more than the other two is about that journalistic integrity angle, where she literally comes in and she becomes a part of the story she's writing about. She sleeps with 𝗁𝙗𝗲𝗄, and she revises his manifesto and does all this stuff for him. So she's more of a storyteller than she is a journalist. It seems like, you know, she's there to tell the best story possible, and sometimes telling the best story possible requires you to get involved. You know, whenever she's standing there watching Juliet and 𝗁𝙗𝗲𝗄 argue, and she's like, I shouldn't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything, and then she goes, I have something to say. You know, like that's.
Oh my God, that's the chess match that's actually happening. It's the king and the queen, Romeo and Juliet, you know, they're the king and the queen, but then the bishop, that's like the next most powerful piece that's not supposed to really interfere until it needs to, is the bishop. It's like, oh, okay. I see. I kind of, okay. I don't know. I kind of see. That kind of makes more sense now a little bit. Like, okay. I like because I was trying to find a reason why she interfered, you know, like I'm supposed to keep my journalistic integrity. But then she's like, and then like that even exists.
Yeah, 𝗁𝙗𝗲𝗄𝗏's homeboy's being like, there's no such thing. It doesn't exist anymore. And she's like, if it even exists. And you know, what does she say? She says, and you should open your mind if you do not mind my saying, if you do not mind my saying, or whatever the hell, she like keeps qualifying what she's saying. But there's a real peacekeeping element to Kremens that's really interesting and kind of counterintuitive to the ideals of a revolution. You know, she is kind of parading this idea that you should meet in the middle and that you should try to find common ground, and that's what she is saying to literally Juliet and 𝗁𝙗𝗲𝗄, but she's also trying to be like, and maybe you can figure something out here, you know, like in your struggle, you know, and which is an ideal that I don't necessarily agree with, but I can appreciate. Like
I think her main point was like, you're fighting the same fight, and if you start to fight with each other, you've already lost, sort of thing. Like and I think that's kind of what they realized, because she's up there spitting like, this is what you make into your manifesto. I'm the treasurer, and we spend all this money on to mass produce this, and she's flipping through everything. She's like, look at this sucks. Look at this sucks. And then I don't know, it was very, very. I feel like they were about to start like their own little civil war there. Like she had her own little posse come up behind her that were like, yeah, no, I feel that too. And then Frances McDormand is like, well, I can't intervene. I can't. But then she's like, all right, now I have to, sort of thing. Like,
I think there's also something to be said for the idea that there's kind of a hive mind regarding causes in general, whenever she starts pointing out flaws with the manifesto, she starts gaining a following and people being like, oh yeah, she's right. Which kind of implies that other people didn't read the manifesto and just kind of went, oh yeah. Well, because there's reason to be like, they're fighting for freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I don't blame anyone for being like, I don't care about the specifics. The regime that stands now is wrong. If this is what we're going to do, it's right, and there is more there, but like, it is interesting to think like what the balance of things there was, how she kept spouting things off and people being like, oh yeah, that's interesting. I haven't thought of it that way. And it's like, there's a argument to be had that they didn't think of it at all.
That's true. Because they all just got those manifestos, like just now. And that is a fair point that I didn't really think about. I just kind of took it for granted that, yeah, they all read it, but like, probably people are there just more for the fight because they do know something's wrong, and
there's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I do think if you're fighting a revolutionary cause, it's best to be informed on exactly what you're fighting for.
That's true. Yeah, still important. Not necessary, but very important if you want to keep organized and your goal, have your goals met
to prevent this. This infighting. You figure out what you want to do, and you put it to words, and that's the problem sometimes with having one revolutionary leader. There's an argument to be had that Juliet and Zeffirelli probably should have authored this together, instead of one guy coming up with the whole shebang. Find a balance and go ahead and commit to it. But
is that the scene for this part? I'm trying to think of any other scene that stacks up to
that's a damn good scene. My favorite scene in this part, however, would probably be just, I don't know why particularly, but the scene that I always love from this is whenever Frances McDormand goes to the bathroom after the tear gas bombing and Zeffirelli's in the tub. Yeah. And he's like, you want to revise my manifesto? My parents say you're a great writer. And she's like, yeah, sure. And then she's like, it's a little damp. Physically or metaphorically? Both. I think that what's fascinating is to get a couple of actors who are 40 years apart in age with pretty impeccable chemistry. I think Frances McDormand and Timothée Chalamet just like, they put on in this movie, and it's really, really good. And then, like, I think my favorite shot from this, funny enough, because this is loaded with gorgeous visuals. That the scene where like the cafe like lifts up and the jukebox flares up, and Juliet and him are like leaning against it. Like that shit's beautiful. That's probably my actual favorite shot from this scene, but there's a shot whenever Zeffirelli comes out of the bathroom and he's dressed and he's got the gas mask on, and Kremens rises up from the table, stands next to him with the gas mask, and it goes, "We're leaving." And then like they just like leave together. I think that's another just brilliant little bit. And
okay,
yeah, I think what this movie, or this part of the movie specifically, really excelled at was having actors who have incredible chemistry continuously just play off each other. And Frances McDormand, Timothée Chalamet, and what's her name?
It is
Lena Cowdery.
Yeah,
Cowdery.
I mean the shots I'm between were after this whole chess match debacle there. She's like, all right, you two go off, you go make love, you do your thing. And they're riding on the bike, and it's nighttime, and you see all the changing lights like flash by them when they're on the bike. It's either that one or whenever they have like their kiss and they're in bed, and then the room just fades to like a starry night behind them.
Yeah, that's in contention for my favorite shot of the entire movie is when they're sitting there naked across from each other after their kiss, and it fades to the stars.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Like there was no really other shot that hit me like the gut feeling like that one did. That one was like, oh, well, these looked really, really good, and the moments were really, really meaningful too. So it was like it was just very, very elevated already. But yeah, no, I'd say I would go with the Starry Night. I don't know just what to call it, but every time that like there's a first love or like anything in Wes's movies, there's always something to the shot that differentiates it from the rest of the movie. Like you said in Moonrise Kingdom with the rose-colored lenses, like there's no other shot that looks like that. And
that one is very singular.
Isle of Dogs, you have the pink flowers that fly on both of their faces, whenever they're like kind of, I'd say it's like their first true like
romantic moment. Yeah.
And then here, like the lights flashing on the bike, and then this fantastic starry night, the room just fades away, and it's not even there, the room doesn't matter at that point, it's just the kiss and in the moment. So yeah, I think the kiss is probably what I'd have to land on if I had to, but that's my favorite shot for this part for sure, and then probably the favorite of the whole movie as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna be damn difficult to pick one that I like more than that one. Because there's some beautiful shots, but man, it doesn't get a lot better than that one. That was that was fucking pretty. But yeah, man, I loved that little story. It was one of the, it at one point I would have told you undoubtedly it was my favorite story of this movie. And now I can't tell you for sure. I like all three of these stories are fucking impeccable, and I think from a all around performances on all sides, every single performance is firing on all cylinders in this one, and I think it might make it the best performed on an all around basis. I want to put emphasis on that. Every person in this does a really good job. I think the next one probably has my favorite performance overall, but when it comes to every character who played an important role in this story, they all did a fantastic job.
Everyone was on it. Like everyone was. You're right. Like this one is very. I guess the previous movies, it's been like enjoyment wise, I enjoyed this far more, than any other movie. But critically, it's like a little bit low. I feel like, I don't know, this one's like just flipped on its head. It's like, well, critically, I don't really have any problems with this at all, other than maybe like the way it was put together. Formatted. But that's just like on first watch. I didn't really know how it was going to happen. But now I appreciate the format looking back on it. Like I think it makes the movie actively better now. And it's, I don't know, this, you're right. Like every performance in this is just like,
it's on the money, man.
It's incredible. Yeah. And like, I guess this is his most recent movie, I guess, and that, I don't know, it every aspect of his movies have come together to make this one, and like, I feel like he's always learning. Like, I don't know. And he's always changing his craft a little bit, but the style still remains there. And I don't know, this one is the best hodgepodge of it all.
Her large, stupid eyes watched me pee. 1,000 kisses later, will she still remember the taste of my tool on the tip of her tongue? Apologies, Mrs. Cremens. I know you despise crude language. I love it, man. I love the storytelling here, and I love the recollection of two memories. You, soap scent of drugstore shampoo. Ashtray of stale cigarettes, burnt toast. Her, perfume of cheap gasoline, coffee on the breath, too much sugar, cocoa butter skin. Where does she spend her summers? It's smells you finally don't forget. The brain works that way. Just I love that this. I feel like Wes Anderson was trying to make a movie that's just an ode to the written word, and I think that's like it's hard to make a movie about writing. You know, like that's
that's everything that was said was not. I don't know. It wasn't just like a normal conversation. It's not how people would speak. You know, like I don't know, and that's I guess some
like
parts
poetry.
Were,
Poems don't have to rhyme, you know. They just have to be creative.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Kingdom.
You know, it's only because of modern language that we do talk the way we do. No one says that we can't talk like that if we don't want to. You know, it's just that I don't think that's just hard to do. Like that's just that's a talent that you have to have.
Like you have to be intelligent to speak the way that these writers write. You know, like that's not easy. The monologue Kremens gives at the end of that scene where she says, you know, he is not an invincible comet speeding on its guided arc toward the outer reaches of the galaxy and cosmic space-time. Rather, he is a boy who will die young. He will drown on this planet in the steady current of the deep, dirty, magnificent river that flows night and day through the veins and arteries of his own ancient city. His parents will receive a telephone call at midnight, dress briskly, mechanically, and hold hands in the silent taxi as they go to identify the body of their cold son. His likeness, mass-produced and shrink-wrapped package, will be sold like bubblegum to the hero-inspired who hope to see themselves like this. The touching narcissism of the young.
Whoa.
It's like, that's a fucking monologue right there, dude. That's and I just love what it has to say about the way that we, you know, package and sell our revolutionary heroes. You know, the poster of Che Guevara that's on who knows how many dorm room walls, and the fucking Karl Marx and posters of him and stuff. You know, there's just all these these things that are just you know, we package it, we sell it, and who's it serving? People who didn't believe in the things they believed in.
Oh,
people who are making money off of their likeness.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, I didn't even catch that part really, or pay attention to that. Whenever I was just more focused on like, wait a minute, he's dying young. That I heard that and I was like, wait, hold up. I was like, hold up, and because I didn't show him in the little radio, like in the radio tower. Is that how? Like, how did he die? Like, because was it he climbed the radio tower, he fixed it, and then like he just stood up there for a while and just like was smoking.
Yeah, I don't think they told us how he died.
Okay, because I didn't know if like he just fell off of that, you know, and I'm like,
he was like electrocuted or
whatever.
I
was trying to I didn't know if it was made clear how he died, but I didn't.
I think it's another statement on the revolutionary cause. If you were even if he was not fighting a violent revolution, and even if you aren't fighting a violent revolution, the state will enact a violent retribution. If you are saying things contrary to the norm. And so even though he wasn't fighting a violent revolution, they killed him. You know, he inspired too many people.
That's true. Yeah. Oh man. Wow. That's crazy. Like just looking back at all these stories and actually thinking about them now. Like,
dude. Well, each individually is just an incredible short story, even without the context of the rest of the movie. Yeah. You know, like it's and again, that's the power of the written word. You can write one of the best things I've ever read in 20 pages, and that's the power of journalism. You know, like that's why journalism is so important, and that's why the written word is so important. Is that like it can get across things that a 2-hour-long movie can't even get across. You know, that's it's impeccable. It's incredibly well done, and
yeah, because when I'm watching each of these, I'm like fully engrossed in the story at the time. Like I'm fully with the characters, and then it jumps back to the editing room or something, or back with the writer, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we're doing here. Like that's what, like for every story, I'm like, I didn't know if that was the rest of the movie or if we were going to another issue, you know. And I'm like, I don't know.
And then you eventually get to Roebuck Wrights, and you're kind of going, I hope this isn't the last one.
That's true. Yeah, it started out as like
once you have the format, you're like, oh, is there another one after this? Can there be another one after this, please?
Roebuck, right, man. That was
at
least on first watch. It was
fourth watch for me. I've done a really good job so far in this project. This is the 8th movie we've covered. Never once have I given the performance and character to the same person. I'm confidently doing it here. Jeffrey Wright as Roebuck Wright is the best part of this movie, and arguably in a career that I absolutely adore from Jeffrey Wright, his best work. I think that like it's he does so fucking good in this movie, man, and I love him as Roebuck Wright. So let's get into that last story there.
What else has he done that would be up to this level?
I mean, Westworld.
Westworld. That's the one that was ringing a bell for sure.
I like his Jim Gordon a lot, but he doesn't have to do the things he does in this movie. I don't think.
You're right. This is.
I love him in the movie Shaft. He plays Peoples Hernandez. Nowhere near this level once again, but still freaking awesome. I really do love Jeffrey Wright, and
this one, it was clear after my first watch. I'm like, performance of the movie, I was between Jeffrey Wright and Frances McDormand, and then I was like, I think it's just Jeffrey Wright. Like I was trying to, and that's crazy, is that I'm between Frances McDormand and Jeffrey Wright, and I was trying to find a way that Frances McDormand could beat Jeffrey Wright, and I'm like, I don't think I can in this one. Like his voice is already so naturally amazing that if he's just speaking,
captivating, dude.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I don't know, like the single tear he had,
dude,
and don't cry. Why? What's up with that? What's up with that rule? Is it the journalistic integrity,
I think it is.
Or
I think it is. I think it's a very commonly held belief in journalistic circles that you cannot get attached to the story or make it emotional in any way. So it's a conditioning exercise to make sure that when they are doing their job, they don't cry, they don't get emotional, they don't get invested in that way.
Then at the end, it comes to bite them. Like they're writing an obituary, something like in a man is dead, and like you are supposed to be crying right there. Yes, they're doing a job,
dude. But
like I don't know.
Think it bites them though. That's the thing, is that's the sort of send off he would want. It's like it's a journalist's, like an editor. He had an editor's burial. Like that's when it comes to an obituary, a eulogy is for the emotion. An obituary is here's what his life was. Here's everything he did.
That's fair.
This is what we do here.
Okay. I don't know. I see I guess it does make sense on one hand to like not get attached to your stories so that you don't envelop your own emotion into them and stuff like that. But then you like kind of, I don't know. I feel like that's just a piece of your humanity that's just like you have to suppress. That's such a, like there are moments where all of these writers want to cry, like, and it is clear that they like are going to or about to, and then
there's all of them have something where they do not maintain journalistic integrity. J.K.L. Berenson slept with Moses Rosenthaler, and Lucinda Cremens slept with Zeffirelli, and Roebuck Wright, he didn't break journalistic integrity in the same way that they all did, but he went back and wrote a story about the place where he was locked up, and the chef and that's automatically, inherently breaking journalistic integrity. You're not supposed to write about stuff you have prior experience or a bias against, likely. And if you were locked up in a place, you likely don't like that place.
That's true. Yeah. And
Man,
his whole passion was food as well. And he's writing
food.
about like a chef. He chooses to write about food more than
And that's the
anything.
thing. He chooses to write about food, but what's the point that 𝗁𝙗𝙎𝗃𝘃 makes is that this is hardly about the chef. He's like,
Yeah.
perhaps you missed the part where I was shot at and chased in a car and this stuff, and even then, that's covering up for what his story was actually about, I think, and it's
Why does he like? What is whenever he's like, this is what the story's, this is what it's about. Like, keep it in there. Like, oh my God, how could you get rid of this? And he's like, I couldn't disagree more.
I couldn't agree less.
Or I couldn't agree less. That's what he says. It's like, I don't know.
I think that is the lack of journalistic integrity in Roebuck Wright, is that more than the other writers on his staff, whenever he has experienced a human moment, he wants to keep it to himself. It's his moment. It's a moment that he had with this man that is important. It's important to both of them. And the way he tried to maintain journalistic integrity was by keeping that to himself. That might have been the part that was the most emotional for him.
I see.
So he kept it out. But that's what he tells him is the point of the story.
So he doesn't agree with it because he thinks it's breaking his journalistic integrity.
I think so.
By including it in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he thinks that it was an honest, vulnerable moment that this chef wanted to share off the record. And not technically off the record. He didn't say that or anything. But like the dude just woke up after being poisoned and he just started talking. And I think it's supposed to be like he wanted to be respectful of that and didn't want to include it. It was an honest human moment between someone who experienced something they never thought they could or never thought they would.
My headcanon is they escape into the sunset and they're together. Like, because how better could that be? A guy who loves food and all of that, and then you get like one of the best. The guy who was just making food for cops. Like,
is it an underling or Nescaffier himself?
Yeah.
He's a legend. Everyone knows Nescaffier
for cops. It's like, and he had to limit his cooking ability to make sure that he didn't, contaminate a crime scene or whatever. They were like, sauces were dehydrated for blah blah blah, and no crunchy foods to keep the noise down. So it's like, even he's the greatest chef in the world or like a legend, but he can't even fully cook everything that he wants to. And I don't know. I think, yeah. No, there's Jeffrey Wright. I still can't. If I had to pick one favorite out of the three stories, it would probably be that one, just because of Jeffrey Wright's performance of it. Like, I think the actual story elements, I like the revolutionary story more. Like, I get behind that a lot easier, and that's like, that's exciting to watch and fun. And the Moses' story, I fully, I'm down with too. But like, just Jeffrey Wright did so well with his role, and like, actually, like, was an emotional moment there, like with the chef, like whenever he was like that's just a taste I've never experienced. It was kind of like the chief getting his first dog biscuit, like it was kind of similar to that, where it was like a forbidden thing that you would have never even thought, but then once you got to it, it's a whole new experience, and that's what the experience is what it was for, not that he would, that he likes the taste, because he was like, yeah, no, it's not particularly enjoyable, but I've never experienced that before.
I've never had it.
And it was, I don't know, it reminded me of just Chief getting his first dog biscuit.
Yeah. No, that's a goodie. That is a goodie. I like the way that the reason that I think that little moment at the end, maybe one day we'll find what has eluded us for so long, I think the reason he thought to exclude that is because his whole story, and like, deeply embedded in that more flashy narrative of a kidnapping and heist and a ransom, etc., is about being lonely, you know. And he shares a moment with someone, a true, honest moment, and he wants to keep that for himself. He doesn't want that to become everyone else's. He wants it to be his. Because my favorite line of the movie and of this scene, so he got a lot across the board.
Yeah.
For me, was definitely you see, people may or may not be mildly threatened by your anger, hatred, your pride, but love the wrong way, and you will find yourself in great jeopardy. And that's the line where you go, if you didn't get it before, it's like, oh yeah, he's definitely gay. And he was locked in prison for being gay. And he was put in prison for 6 days with no one to talk to him in the chicken coop where he found Willem Dafoe. Which is why when he approaches Willem Dafoe and he's like, have you been in the chicken coop for long? You know, it's like, he's like, I know what it's like in there. It can't be good. And it pans down. Roebuck Wright was here. Like, he's got far and away the best and most emotional story in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I came off, I think that's why they ended it with that one.
They knew what the end of this movie was. Yeah.
Yeah. And that it is interesting that they're the one writer that we don't check in with, and it's like, oh no, he's finishing it. You know, I hear him typing in the other room. Don't interrupt. And I didn't think anything of it at the time, but it's just to let it build and let it build over time, and it will eventually get to it, and it will be the end of the end. And trying to think, because this one, it has the comic book kind of style, like animation.
Yes, yeah.
Here, which was really, really cool.
With
and
Ed Norton escaping with the child.
Was that, I don't know, that child, his voice seemed really, was that, I don't know, I don't know why, but whoever played that child, I don't know why his voice sounded familiar, but I probably won't. Do you know that kid's name in the movie, by chance? His character name? Gigi? Maybe?
Gigi, yes, Gigi.
𝗿𝙗𝙀𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. That's it, apparently. Just the French. Okay, never mind. Just something in the wind. I don't know, but
some kid.
But I don't know. Even that little moment that he has with the, I don't know, showgirl or whatever. Like, will you sing me a lullaby? I'm scared.
Yeah,
you know,
𝗿𝙗𝙀𝗎𝗋𝗋, baby.
Yeah, like what color are your eyes? You know, and it was just like a
Dude,
really,
that flash to the bright blue of her eyes, fucking gorgeous. 𝗿𝙗𝙀𝗋𝗋 Ronan is an astonishing looking human being.
Oh, and there's so many just little things in this that I'm like, wow, this part of the movie is just so good. And then he goes back to Jeffrey Wright, and I'm like, okay, I don't know, now it's even better. But I don't know, I really liked the whole shebang of that story, like everything about it. It was just done so well. And like the action sequence, you know, this is how I imagine war happened back then. It's just two firing squads on either side, just absolutely just, going at you.
Whenever they showed the infiltration and everyone's just pointing guns in random directions, someone descends in from a rope, it's outstanding, man. And that's what I love about this movie overall too, is that there's a very storybook kind of feel to it. Whenever a shot is layered, to show distance, with Owen Wilson at the beginning of the movie, when he is very clearly not riding a bike on a street or riding on a train or a bus or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, they did that on purpose to make it feel like a drawing, like a two-dimensional picture, like you're reading it, like it's on a page. That's a brilliant choice, dude. And
that's going to be cool to look back on now. To look at the visuals as if I'm reading a magazine, because that's you're right. There are definitely it is made out to be that way on a lot of
multiple occasions. But I adored Roebuck Wright. I adored Jeffrey Wright's performance of him. You know, another little detail that I didn't catch that Emily pointed out to me when we were watching it is that the colors of the set that he is telling the story on with 𝗿𝙗𝙎𝙀𝗃𝗃 are the colors of the MLM flag, the Men Loving Men flag. The blues and greens and whites like that. Those are the varying colors on the Men Loving Men flag. So it's another little hint at him being into men. So there's just I was like, oh yeah, it is. I didn't even catch that. You know, it's just a brilliant choice, dude. There's so many things there that I fucking love, and his affinity for, you know, the finer things, the things when he is asked, you know, why do you write about food, and he's like, never ask a man why. Who, how, what, when, these are all fine, but why, it tightens a fellow up. That whole thing, just and you know, that's a good point. You know, why is a crucial question most of the time, but his reasoning, you know, self-reflection is best done in privacy if done at all. You know, it's best done within the sanctity of yourself, not for other people, not for the masses to analyze. And
yeah, that makes a lot more sense why he kept that moment to himself then, you know, even more. Like it was really a moment, like he saw it as like more of a moment for the chef, you know, like that was like, that's his moment. That's his like kind of private moment. He was just there as well. But, you know, whenever he's like, yeah, we'll if good luck, you know, we'll find our home. You know, we're both foreigners. We're both in foreign places. We don't really belong, but
seeking,
you know,
something missing something left behind.
God, Jeffrey Wright was just,
maybe with good luck we'll find what eluded us in the places we once called home.
I just want him to narrate everything from here on out. Like, I don't just being. Well, like, I know he's in Asteroid City, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yes, he will be in Asteroid City. Okay. He will be in Asteroid City. But like the layeredness of the time period this takes place in, you know, this is set in 1975, the present time, whenever 𝗿𝙗𝙎𝙀𝗃𝗃 has passed away. 1975. Whenever you're talking about a black gay man who has fled the United States and headed for Europe in the 60s, presumably, you know, he kind of states that he's kind of a traveler. He hasn't been settled down anywhere. You know, there was a particular beauty well known to the companionless foreigner as he walks the streets of his adopted, preferably moonlit city, in my case, ennui, France. I have so often shared the day's glittering discoveries, and then it smash cuts to him alone in the studio with no one at all. But always somewhere along the avenue or the boulevard there was a table set for me. A cook, a waiter, a bottle, a glass, a fire. I chose this life. It is the solitary feast that has been very much like a comrade, my great comfort and fortification. Wow. That's what's so important to him about this moment with the chef, you know, like it's he is that passion of his personified. You know, it is like,
yeah,
he's meant to be the companion, the fortification, the comfort, you know, all in one person, kind of summarized in 𝗁𝗏𝗄𝗃, and that's a brilliant choice.
Yeah,
dude.
I love how right before he says that he's like, well, I don't even really know what I'm about to say, but here I go. You know, that sort of thing. Like I don't even know, but here you go. Here's my answer.
He's like, I've never reflected on why I write about food.
Yeah,
ever.
And I think it was part of the reason they had him recite, you know, everything he's ever written. He has typog or whatever memory.
Typographic memory.
Yeah, typographic memory. And he can recite anything he's ever written. And I think that was like, they were kind of seeing him as like a robot, or not necessarily, but just kind of like a writer and not a human necessarily.
Bring yourself back online, Arnold.
Then he gets to actually speak from the heart, and like you actually just hear him not recite anything, and he's coming up with something new, and it's just as beautiful as all of his previous writing. You know, it's like that's just how he talks, and I don't know. Yeah, Jeffrey Wright just blew me away in this movie.
Yeah,
and he took the performance easily. And character, I guess I was between Benicio del Toro as Moses and Jeffrey Wright. But after talking about it, yeah, no, I can't do that. If we're picking overall favorites, it's Jeffrey Wright for both of them for me. And I think I don't know. I'm trying to find the best scene out of this part, and it might be his why explanation. That might be it, or just the him sitting with Bill Murray in, like, I guess the end there when he's like, no, this is the best, because you get like him picking it up out of the trash can. It's the one piece of paper that's in the trash can. He picks it up, just hands it to him. He knows it's good. Like, that's the thing. He knows
that once he reads it, it's in.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
100%. He hands it to him already knowing that. And then you get that moment. Like, you see the moment between the chef and Ro, and it's just, I don't know, it was just a beautiful scene. I think that'd probably be my scene out of this section.
Yeah, the scene between Roebuck and 𝗁𝗍𝗄𝗏 is probably the best scene for me. It's probably where I'm going to have to go with it too. Trying to think of where else I would even think to go, because that's one of those moments that kind of that does like evoke tears for me.
Oh yeah.
And then like the thing that this is similar to Grand Budapest Hotel for me. My favorite scene of the movie is the writing of the obituary. That is my overall favorite scene. My favorite line was the but love the wrong way and you will find yourself in great jeopardy. That whole little monologue, performance, character, Jeffrey Wright. Seeing that, it's got to be that. Because whenever they start to sit down and they pay homage to this man who has meant so much to them and given them an outlet to create the things they want to create, I don't know what it is, bro. I fucking sob at the end of this movie. Like, it rivals the cries of every other movie for me. And I don't know why. Like, I just start crying as soon as like they're all in there together, mumbling over each other, putting the will together, and or not the will, the obituary together, and all of them just kind of, we've seen them in their own element, we've seen them writing with his support throughout the entire movie, but then for them to come together and be like, well, we all fucking love this guy, we all, even the illustrator who got his ass ripped by him at the beginning of the movie, the only guy we saw him get angry at was the illustrator, he's like, what? Yeah. I wanted a roasted turkey stuffed in, he even he's like, and Owen Wilson walks over, he's like, yeah, that's him, that's Arthur, it started as a holiday. Did it really? I don't know, kinda. That's hilarious, but
I really thought there was going to be something more with the don't cry, because the shot of in the office, it was covered up by one of the lampshades, like one of the lights that's hanging down from the ceiling. It's half covered up. Like, you only see like the bottom half of the no crying above the door. And I really thought that they were going to be like, I don't know. I thought they were maybe going to be like, maybe we get rid of that. Or like, in my head, they all stayed here, and none, their contracts are up, and they all got bonuses and stuff. But like, in my head, they
build their own thing.
Yeah. It's like, it's not the French Dispatch. Maybe they'll call it something different and say like that truly ended with him. It's how he wanted to go out and everything. But here's whatever is up next. Yeah,
and I think that it is a fun thing to headcanon, just because. I've thought about that a lot, like what would happen next if there was going to be a next at all. And, I have this idea in my head that it is the sad option, the sad in the sense that you would hate to see it happen. And that's why it's not in the movie. It's why it's not part of it, where
they all went their separate ways.
Their job's done. Their publication is shut down, and that they probably never see each other again. Like that's, maybe a few of them, write for the same publication at some point. But, I kind of take it that a lot of them are travelers by nature. They'll probably go their own places, their own ways. Yeah. I imagine Roebuck stays in ennui. It seems like that's his like elected home now.
Mm-hmm.
𝗁𝙍𝙀𝗃𝗃 seems to have an affinity for ennui, but when it comes to 𝘀𝑚𝑒nce and Berenson, they never seemed like they were tied down to a place at all. Like they're just their home is whatever story they're writing. And I think that's kind of beautiful, kind of compelling. But I got to imagine that there's more places to write in ennui than the French Dispatch. I'm assuming that a few of them will just stick around and find their homes.
Yeah. I don't know that you're right though. That's why they didn't show it. They leave it open ended. It's better to leave it open ended than to show whatever. I don't know. It's a fake world anyway.
This is the end of the movie, and I can't even articulate exactly what it is that just absolutely fucks me up at the end, man. But I just break whenever they're all sitting there kind of looking back on the publication, because it's not just a mourning period for Arthur. It is a mourning period for the job that they all have and love that this publication has done. So whenever they're, the eulogy or obituary we do here is partially for Arthur, and it is partially for the French Dispatch, because here, let me find the script for it, because it's really good. But oh, where art thou? I can't find it, but regardless, it is really, really compelling, and I just absolutely adore it. But it started as a holiday, and they continue on. Arthur was a man his dad owned the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun, and he wanted to open his own little side venture within the paper, and so it ends up being it kind of eulogizes both. Yeah, it began as a holiday. Arthur Howitzer Jr., college freshman eager to escape a bright future on the Great Plains, convinced his father, proprietor of the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun, to fund his transatlantic passage as an educational opportunity to learn the family business through the production of a series of travelogue columns to be published to local readers in the Sunday Picnic magazine. It becomes beyond Arthur. It's bigger than him, and I think that's something he would have really, really liked. And
it was a perfect send off, and I even love the little detail. They're like, "Is someone here? Is someone gonna like come get him?" And they're like, "The funeral home's on strike right now," or something like that.
Strike the morgue.
I don't know. It might have predicted the future. I mean, was there a previous strike than the one that's going on right now?
Oh, there's been several writing strikes, but it's
at the time, because this was 2021, so it's like two. I just didn't know if there was one that was going on like during.
No, the last last prominent one prior to the one that's happening now was in 2007, so it was a while back.
Okay. But I don't know, kind of interesting little. I mean, it might have just been a throwaway line. I don't know, just like a funny thing. But now is kind of like
strikes are more prevalent than ever. Yeah.
Yeah, in a movie about writing, and all. But no, this was like I've always throughout school and everything, I've hated English. I've hated reading is more of what I hate.
Right.
But whenever I was allowed just to go,
yeah.
No prompt, no, maybe a very open-ended prompt, but like just whenever it was just not like, all right, read this book. Tell me about this chapter, and whatever. I don't know. Like that didn't really interest me, but like just to be able to create something and do that was my, I don't know. I really love doing that. And
that's why I loved being on the newspaper, cause when I was on the newspaper, I started as, just a reporter. And then when I was a junior, I was the entertainment editor. So I got to decide what was on the entertainment page. It was basically nothing but stuff I was interested in, I had a bunch of people looking into stuff that I liked and talking about it. And then I got to be editor-in-chief. I got to be the editor of our newspaper. So
dang,
the weight that comes with, I think that the relationship that happens between an editor and a writer, and I only did it at the high school level, and it was goddamn difficult at the high school level just because at least what Arthur's got going on is a bunch of people where this is what they want to do with their fucking lives. I had to like pry stories out of people's heads. You know, if you look at our paper from senior year, I think every issue was comprised of probably 20-ish stories. It was guaranteed I was writing a fourth of them, at least.
Wow.
At least 5.
Dang.
At least 5 an issue for the 8 months we ran. But
Probably
like,
why you became editor.
yeah. I was astonished I became editor. Like, the other 2 people that I was up against for editor were Tavares, other founding member of this podcast, and Delaney Jackson. And I was when I got chosen, I was like, no fucking way. I didn't even think I was gonna get it. You know, I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and sign up for editor-in-chief and we'll see. And then I got it and I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
A lot more work than you thought it was gonna be, maybe?
Or dude, we would stay after school. I would be there until 5 p.m., bro. Just on deadline weeks. Fucking nightmarish. But I loved it. You know, I loved
the grind. The grind is
it was
good grind
so
if you like what
much
you're doing.
fun.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I look back on it. I'm sure at the time I was like, oh my God, like, can this please slow down? Now I look back and I'm like, God, I wish I could be in a writing room.
There
was this little back lab that we had that, and it's not so much a vying for like the high school experience. It's just that environment was so fun and it bred creativity and people just talking back there about what they were writing and how they wanted to approach it. I loved being the editor of the newspaper, especially all the shit that we got. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that just I don't know, that would be a fun environment. Like that's I don't know. I was always more of a number cruncher or more of a science guy. You know, that's what I was into or just better at, I guess. And I really wish, I don't know, because that was one of my favorite field trips I ever had was senior year English class. We just went downtown Kansas City, did 3 or 4 different locations, and we were just write whatever comes to your mind. No grade, no anything, just we're going on this field trip just to go, and that's it.
That's the shit.
I mean, it was, I don't know, that was a blast. Like just writing, I wrote, like there was a construction building across from a coffee shop. And I remember a scene where like, I don't know, did this come out at the time? I think so. Tony, getting the Hulk and just smashing him through, I think it may be Age of Ultron or something, when he just smashes him through a whole building to like take him out. It doesn't even work.
Before. Yeah.
And I saw that and I'm like, oh, I'm going to write my own kind of little thing about that. And then I go to a library and then I'm completely in a different vein, like not even close to superheroes. I'm like, it's a story about my own life or something like the next thing. And it's like that, I don't know, that was a blast. Like just,
yeah, man, writing's a lot of fun, man. And it's just, it is work though. like it's not an easy, it's not an easy thing to maintain. Even now for the Patreon, you know, I've been trying my best to write one thing a week, and even that gets hard, you know. I'm like, just finding the time, finding the motivation, finding something I really want to write. Like that's not easy, you know. And that's where the deadlines and stuff kind of do come in, when it forces you to do something. You're like, what can I make in the next month that I want to talk about? You know?
It's kind of like on one hand, you wish deadlines weren't really a thing, and that you could just go and create what you want at your own pace. But then that's what separates kind of the good writers. And
that's what separates writing specifically from other art forms. You know, I think you can crunch writing, specifically journalistic writing. You know, like there's a difference between like writing a book and writing an article. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a whole other ballgame. But even writing a book, it's good to have deadlines. It motivates you to go ahead and do the things you need to do. I want to have this many chapters done by this date or whatever the hell, you know, like it's deadlines do serve a good purpose when it comes to the written medium. Beyond that, I don't know. I think you should let artists breathe and kind of do what they're going to do. But yeah, man.
Every time I've come off a Wes movie, I've always been like, man, there's something that he always just speaks on that's so powerful, and it gets me to think of the real world. And this one is like,
The written word,
Oh
man.
my God. This was just, it was all made up, and none of this happened in real life, but it sure as shit could have. Like,
Yeah.
every single one of these stories could have happened in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's so fantastic, but very, very real at the same time. I was surprised that these actually weren't based off true stories at the end of this.
Right.
I would have legitimately thought, like, oh yeah, this is so well written, like it probably just happened, and they just, made up a few things in between here and there, and went that route. But no, I don't know, that's crazy that this is how he balances the fantastic nature versus the harsh reality of what the point he's trying to get across.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't know, this one is, you did not hype it up too much
Cool.
at all. This one was very, very good, and I would probably, I don't know, I was just stun locked after it. I was just like, wow, like that was just so different from every single one of his other movies.
Well, and that's what's
I've
so
watched.
fascinating about it. Like I said, this is my fourth viewing of it this year, along with Moonrise Kingdom and Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I've commented on how those are probably my preferable comfort movies. I don't even necessarily define this as a comfort movie, but if it's inspiring, it's motivating, it's creative fuel to watch The French Dispatch. I think it motivates me. It motivates me to write. It makes me want to go do those things. Like that's a power of this movie that some of those other movies just don't have, and it's not the same as a comfort movie, but it's a certain version of comfort that I really enjoy.
It's like kind of like watching like a Rocky or a Creed movie, and then coming out being like, all right, now I'm going to train. I've never wanted to fight once in my life, but I'm going to go. I'm going to get
punching bag, ring.
And I'm just going to train.
It's like, get me a fucking pen, homie. I'm about to go nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I would legitimately, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I just
anybody got a typewriter. I'm trying to go crazy.
Frances McDormand sitting with a pillow and a typewriter, like I want, like that is satisfying.
When she's writing with the gas mask on, like all the different ways that these people try to get in the mind of like what they were experiencing while they were like, what they were experiencing to write it. Like that's a great little tactic, man. I love that shit. So, yeah, I'm super high on this movie.
Oh yeah,
this is amongst my favorite Wes Anderson movies. Probably on a personal level, and I will not blame anyone for having a different opinion than this. I went into great detail about how I have a very great history with journalism and a passion for it and stuff. So it will resonate with me differently than most people, but this is top 3. With Moonrise and probably the Darjeeling Limited. It's top 3. I don't know the order, but I do know that's probably the case.
Yeah, we gotta keep our own journalistic integrity here when we're going for the critical rating. But enjoyment, that's all us. That's all us. That doesn't matter whatsoever.
Hey man,
but
that doesn't fucking matter. And that's a thing. I don't want to invoke Sumai if I don't have to. But
I don't think you shall need to. Are you at a 10 enjoyment?
For me, this is a surefire 10, and that's the thing is that like I will not complain about a 9.75 though.
Okay, because that would tie it with Grand Budapest, or is it on the same level as Moonrise, which we did give a 10, or on Grand Budapest level with 9.75? And
I think and that's what's interesting is that from an emotional response sort of level, is more similar to Grand Budapest than it is Moonrise Kingdom for me, and that it just kind of happens at the end.
Inspire me at the end though to go and do. No. That's the difference. This
movie makes me want to write, and I think that's a different. It's hard to do. There are a few movies that make me want to read and write and stuff. I think of like Before Sunrise. It's a Richard Linklater movie with Ethan Hawke and Julia Delpy, like from 1994 or something, or 93, 95, somewhere in that range. And I remember after I watched that movie, I was like, I need to get back into writing fucking poetry, like that. That's a rare movie. Whenever you watch something and it's like, oh, I want to fucking write. And all those movies make me so endlessly happy. You know, I love watching those types of movies. So this one for me is a 10 on a personal level, but a 9.75 I won't gripe with.
I'm alright with giving it a 10 because even on first watch, I was inspired, and like I was like a person who doesn't really write or do anything like that at all. I was like, man, I might, instead of reading for like 30 minutes before bed, I might just like open up a journal and just start going, and just that's writing something before bed.
That's good for more reasons than just it's a good way to flex your creative muscles, man, come up with a prompt in your own head or just kind of let it go, write about your day or whatever. It's a great way to do things, and I'd recommend it. I know I would, but
I'm comfortable with a 10. I mean, it's either a 9.75 or a 10, but I would elevate it above Grand Budapest. Like this, Grand Budapest was awesome, and I love that movie, but this hit me on just a deeper level, like a deeper level that Grand Budapest didn't quite get to, and that's no sumai needed here, I think.
Bet. Now, where we do need to maintain the journalistic integrity here is the critical rating. And I would very plainly and honestly say this is far from his best work. Wes Anderson's. I think it is a great movie. We've talked about this, or I've talked about the scale before on our comic book movie project. When I call something a 7, it's good. If it's 8, it's great. When it's 9, it's nearly perfect. If it's 10, it is perfect. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. This is in the 8s. I'm confident in that. I don't think it's quite a 9. I don't think I can go that high confidently. And I don't know how much I can elevate it above The Life Aquatic or Isle of Dogs, if I can at all.
I think it's like the format of it. It works really, really well on second watch, but I was a little lost sometimes.
And that's the thing is that I think that
I don't know.
I think it's
that's
lovely.
The thing, though. Like,
it's a lovely visual movie. The soundtrack, I adore this soundtrack. This might be my favorite soundtrack from a Wes Anderson movie. The little French Dispatch theme, which has become the TikTok trend song that plays on every single one of those Day in the Life in the Eyes of Wes Anderson. The revisions to a Manifesto theme, that like swelling, beautiful sound, like it's just gorgeous. I think it's incredibly creative, incredibly inventive. The performances are outstanding, like I said.
We have a Kansas City Film Critics Circle Award.
Goddamn right we do.
I guess a Best Original Screenplay was nominated for it.
I was gonna say it's damn well written, like that's and it's incredibly well edited. It's incredibly well shot. It's just when it comes to the formatting of the movie, you can get lost, and that is important. You'd prefer not to get lost. A movie that's formatted in a similar way where you don't know exactly when everything is happening, that works far less for me is Pulp Fiction. You're kind of like, wait,
that's not like this.
When's this? What's that about?
That's not like this at all.
There's a consistency in tone and stuff, and there's almost an idea here that it's like it doesn't matter when certain things happen, and that kind of makes it better.
Like the literal
makes you enjoy it more.
Literal passing down of a dog tag showing that like this is the younger version. Like it's like okay, that part is not important to the movie. You obviously know that it's a different actor. Whatever. Like just get past it. Like it's not important to the movie. And what is important to the movie are the moments that he highlights, that like the camera does focus on it. Wes is very, very good at making like what he wants you to focus on. The kiss scene, when they kiss, like when the stars go, like it's starry, like you see it at first, but then they're
illuminated, and
it's like it draws you into the kiss, to the moment. And
it's a gorgeous sequence.
So I think. I don't know. I would put it like
I'd even elevate it to an 8.5 if you wanted to.
I think it like that's the only bad thing is like on first watch. But if you watch it again, you know what the movie is. All of that stuff kind of goes away. And I do think it's fair to criticize it. Like a movie should be viewed. You shouldn't have to view it twice to get everything out of it.
True.
And that's probably why a lot of people don't like it. They watched it, they didn't really get it, and they were like, okay, I'm out. Like I don't need to watch that again. That wasn't really my jam.
And I can't blame anyone for that.
Yeah.
I can't.
But I think either on the same level as Life Aquatic or 8.5. I was like 8.5 is comfortable for me, but I'm comfortable with also tying it with Life Aquatic and I guess Isle of Dogs as well. But I don't know. I think
I'm gonna elevate it a little bit above those.
There's a way bigger focus of this movie. Like this.
Oh yeah.
This isn't just of Steve Zissou finding his path or some dog. I don't know. Like those movies are great and I love them, but this
Arthur Steve Zissou if he never lost his way, homie.
Yeah,
if he found his passion and he just loved everybody who wanted to get into it, man. He's a stand-up man, and there's a grandeur to Isle of Dogs, this fantasticalness and everything, but this one is so there's this visual language and rhythm and almost beat that the movie moves to. It's so satisfying. It's so fulfilling to watch, and on a personal note, I adore it, and I you'll never be able to convince me that it's below average.
I think it's also some politics in there as well that maybe get some people to not like the movie. But I don't know that. I guess I'm kind of in agreement with everything that's being said in the movie. Yeah. So like, I guess maybe my journalistic integrity isn't or being whatever. I don't
sacrificed.
know. Yeah, I might be dipping into that a little bit, but I don't know. It's all not real, actually. It all comes back to the Darjeeling Limited with just. These are all made up characters. These are all fictional characters. I don't know what you're talking about. And then it's like,
yeah, right.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow, IMDb gives this a 7.1 out of 10 critically, and then let's see on the good old Rotten Tomatoes, which has usually been closer to our ratings. It is audience 76, critically 75.
Yeah,
I'm around the same.
I'm kind to this movie, and I'm well aware of that. There's the Letterboxd rating is a 3.7, which is a little bit lower than a few of his others. Darjeeling Limited only got a 3.8. Moonrise Kingdom gets a 4. Grand Budapest gets a 4.2 on Letterboxd. Life Aquatic got a 3.8. So like he kind of hovers in that range there. Yeah, even Isle of Dogs has a higher critical rating than this one on Letterboxd, or a rating on Letterboxd, but I don't know.
I'm so glad that this wasn't my first Wes Anderson viewing. Like, I feel like if you come into this, and this is your first one, it is kind of jarring. Like, his style is hard. Like, it's his very nice. His movies
have been building to this.
Yeah. And doing this project is very, like, this, it has helped, like, viewing this movie for sure, because you just see all the little things that he's learned from all of his movies, and just
that's why I'm so fucking excited for Asteroid City, man. Like,
he's only been improving. Like, his craft has only gotten better over time.
Yeah, man. And to get a movie with Jason Schwartzman and Jeffrey Wright and Bryan Cranston and Jeff Goldblum, and I believe Margot Robbie's in that one.
Yep, Margot Robbie, Scarlett Johansson. Ed Norton. I mean, there's just Steve Carell, Bryan Cranston. I mean, Willem Dafoe.
The usual suspects.
Everyone.
Yeah, I'm fucking excited. The only thing you could sell me on even more is if Frances McDormand was around. Then I'd be real fucking down. She makes every movie better, though. She makes every movie better. But and this is our longest one yet. Discussing one of these, there's a reason this movie gets you talking, it gets you motivated to speak on things, and think it's worthy of all that discussion. But any parting thoughts here on the French Dispatch? We only got Rushmore and Bottle Rocket left. We're going back in the timeline now.
That will be interesting to go back now to see because this is the ultimate culmination of his style that's out right now. I feel like Asteroid City will probably do it.
It's going to elevate it even further, I imagine.
But it will be interesting to go back and see where he started from. And
catch me in movie theater with a notepad and pen, jotting down my favorites as they occur.
Yes, probably. I don't know. Because usually whenever I'm watching, I either pull my, like, I don't like to pull out my phone ever for a movie. Like, I hate that. But I'll only pull it out to put in, like, a line or, like, a thing I think I'll forget.
You're like, I got to remember this one. Yeah,
I have to put it in. So that, I don't know, that might be a necessary, I don't know,
it's not a bad for the project we are, committing to here. It's everything's kind of building to a movie that is releasing in theaters, and we will be discussing stuff that is releasing in theaters. A little notepad and a pen goes a long way in a movie theater, much better than a phone. So
I'll bring a typewriter actually and piss everyone off in the theater. Yeah, I don't know. I just want a typewriter now, like just to have. I don't like it's way slower, but man, does it just probably feel more real whenever like you can actually just slide it back. Like it's probably a worse overall typing experience,
Oh yeah,
but,
gotta be.
But
painstaking is all hell.
I don't care. I don't know. I just
I'm in there.
I want to write now. It's weird. I'm not a writer at all, but I want to write.
Hey man, you ever write something you wanna get edited? You can send it my way, and we can put it up on the Patreon if you want. You ever want that? It is patreon.com/PennyBloomPod. That's why I changed the name, is in case anyone else wanted to contribute to the content over there. So anytime you got something you want to do, if you ever do, just let me know, and you can send it my way, and I'll post it on up over there.
All right. Oh yeah, I do have one random project that I've been doing on my own, and it was just from the movie Interstellar. No, it's no effort whatsoever. It's just if I'm somewhere and I notice that it's a really good audio experience, I just record 10 minutes of whatever that happens to be. And I was in my backyard just looking at the moon. Like this was like, I don't know, probably 2 months ago. I have all the dates that they're saved on. And I just, like, the crickets were going, there was an owl, and there was a frog. And I'm like, oh my god, like, what a, just, and it, like, all the noises were, it was like a symphony almost. And I'm like, I just gotta record this. And then I went, like, on a trip down to Branson and, like, Big Cedar, and, like, it was just I don't know, there's, like, a waterfall, sounded really pleasant, and I like that. And then a fire crackling, like, so just random, it's random things that it's just 10 minute snippets. And an Interstellar. Yeah, it was like in Interstellar. Whenever he plays Earth sounds for one of the astronauts up there, he hands him his iPod or whatever, and he's like, "Here, just listen to this, just in case I ever need any Earth noises." Grounded. Yeah, that's. I don't know. I've actually come back to them actually a little bit. Like, surprise! I thought I would just record them and just keep them back there just in case. But like, I don't know. It's nice to
soothing.
To just it's very soothing. But I don't know. I think I might actually get into writing a little bit. I don't know what I'll write, but something. I'm just gonna start flexing those muscles, or just see where it takes me.
Just takes a little work, people are like, "Oh, I'm not a good writer. I just can't do it." You're probably not a good writer because you haven't committed yourself to trying to write. It's it's just like anything else. There are people who have
basketball
a natural
player. Have you ever played basketball? No.
There are obviously people with a natural talent for it, but you can get better at that. It's not a thing you can't improve at.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes a little work, and it's very, very fulfilling. I'm shit. I like to think of myself as a relatively good writer, but I'm.
Oh, you're far above that.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you
far above. Yeah.
I appreciate you there, but that's the thing, is that I'm nowhere near as good as I would like to be, and I think that's kind of what that's the writers the writers' drive is to always be better than they are at that moment. So like I think it's a good policy to have. But so with that, I think we'll conclude this episode of the Penny Bloom podcast. If you would, head to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod if you want to take a good little look at my writing works. I've only just recently gotten back into the writing bug, and maybe Joe will be posting some stuff over there soon. Well, who knows? We shall see. But
no promises on how good it's going to be.
But, hey man. That's why you need an editor. Sometimes you just need an editor.
True.
Help you refine that. And I've been wanting to edit for so long. I loved that job. It was so fun. But head there for $3 a month. You can support this podcast financially. I'm writing movie reviews, comic book reviews, book reviews, and the like. It's been so much fun. There's also tons of recorded content, much more exclusive podcasts than there are writing works over there. And I think that'll probably be more y'all's speed. But regardless, there is written work over there for you. Head to Twitter, follow @PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram @PennyBloomPodcast, and remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever it is that you might be listening. Let's see. With that, I believe that concludes it. I was Colton Robertson, and I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And maybe with good luck, we'll find what eluded us in the places we once called home.